Hello there, Jubilee family. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Greg Nelson. I'm one of the elders here in the city location. In the last year, issues of race, justice, and economic disparity have really been brought into a sharp focus because of current events. And when I have conversations with people about these things, the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. often comes up. And people are very familiar with his legacy in the civil rights movement, fighting for racial equality. But people are not always as cognizant of how much he was concerned about the poor and the plight of the poor and issues of racial disparity. So I invited my good friend, Lucas Rugley, to come. He is the executive director of LOVEtheLOU, a great nonprofit at work here in the city, and I've invited him to speak to us a little bit today about how his organization is connecting with and carrying on that legacy.
Yeah, we got started about 10 years ago when my family moved into the Van Deventer neighborhood on the north side. And over the course of, I would just say, year after year of kind of grinding it out and loving the neighbors that we have as best we can, we've seen God do some pretty incredible things.
Okay, great. Can you tell us a little bit about what that neighborhood was like when you first moved in there?
I think in a word, destabilized, which means that there was a culture of fear that dominated, very little opportunities, and then very little resources.
Wow. And what would you say it's like now?
Stable. There are businesses that want to move in. There are students that actually have jobs now. There are neighbors that are actually contributing, that have a voice. And then there's an overall attitude and a culture where people feel like they've got opportunities and experiences that they never would have had.
That's amazing. Tell us, how did you get from point A to point B?
I think the first step is that we moved in. I think that was really important for us to do. And then not only to move in, but to dive deep into relationships. And when we began addressing the needs that we saw, and not just as a family or as an organization, but really partnering with other organizations to address those needs and surrounding individuals with just all of the relationships that we had, then we began to see results.
Wow. It sounds like God has taken you guys so far in these 10 years. What's on the horizon? Where to next?
So we've got three main programs that we do. We do housing, job development, and youth mentoring. And so we're just going to keep diving into that. We want to invite thousands of volunteers in. We want to invite all kinds of churches to come in and join us into those three areas.
Okay, great. Tell me, how have other churches been critically involved or deeply involved in the work you're doing?
We've had small groups that have come down and hosted tutoring nights. We've had churches that will sponsor camps where our neighbors will go out of the city and go to those camps. We actually had a church that restored an entire vacant building and then moved in a neighbor as a rent to own. And so we've seen all kinds of incredible work done through partnering.
Can you tell us about a recent victory that has occurred or something great that God has done that you're really excited about?
Yeah, the family that moved into the house that we had restored, when COVID hit, they felt an obligation to our neighbors to serve on their own. And so we began collecting food as an organization, but really through this family, and they began passing it out on doorsteps. They went from 10 families to 20 families, and at last count, I believe they're serving 180 families a week just by dropping off groceries on doorsteps.
That's incredible. You are literally feeding the masses through this family, just like being in the hands and feet of Jesus. That's incredible. I'm so excited to hear about what God has been able to do. Man, I'm so excited about the fact that you've kind of taken up this call for incarnational ministry in the city of St. Louis, and that God is producing fruit from the work that you're doing. I was blessed to be introduced to you by a family here at Jubilee, and I'm just curious if other people are getting stirred up and excited like I am. What would be their first step to get connected to your ministry?
Yeah, I would say go to www.lovethelou.com and shoot us a message of how you would like to get involved. We focus on North St. Louis. We focus on three main areas of housing, jobs, and youth mentoring. But within that, we've found that there's 1,000 different ways that you can get involved.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much for being with us.